Hi and welcome to the channel, and this is part 2 of the live build diary. So in this part we've just been through the introduction to the project, and this is for creating a leg brace. So we're starting off with a simple workflow and trying to figure out whether this workflow will fit with what we're trying to do. We're creating this object. This is not the leg brace, this is just a simple object that we're creating there to make sure that it works. So the idea is to use an arc or half a cylinder, and then we're going to attach another part, add another face to the cylinder, so we end up with one single extrude that's like this, but we're creating a sketch on the surface across 3 faces, well across 2 faces, and then mirroring it across the other side. Now we can't do multiple faces for a sketch on surface, it just doesn't allow it. Also we can't do B-splines or straight lines or straight face for that, it's for a curved surface. So we need to understand how we're going to tackle that, and also how to keep all of this geometry to the correct scale, so to the correct measurements, and making sure that we solve some of the challenges that are in the Curves Workbench that can trip us up in there. So this is basically a run through of the workflow and how we're going to put it together. We're going to cover such things as tangency between these, scaling, keeping all these in the correct dimensions. So we've got 50 along here, so this is 50 millimeters on the sketch, and this one is 30 millimeter length on the sketch as well. So we're going to keep all those in the correct measurements. We're going to understand how the Curves Workbench uses the curve on surface to create things such as this, and how we're going to mirror these across and basically run through all the workflow to the finished object. So let's have a look at how we're going to tackle this. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Before we go into building the model, what we're going to do is just check the workflow. So I'm going to create a new sketch along the XY plane and just get a cylinder in here. Actually, it should be half a cylinder. So let's do half a cylinder like so, and we'll just remove that from there. So we've got half a cylinder and with some dimensions. We're going to check a number of things. So we're going to check mirroring. We're going to check the ears that come down here when we start creating geometry that comes down here, so we can place our sketch across this surface and come over. Let's do that 100 millimeters. And we're going to check the tangency across there as well to see if we can get all those right. So just checking the whole workflow before we start, making sure the workflow is correct. So I'm going to sketch this and extrude it, and we're going to go for something like 150 millimeters of extrusion. Doesn't really matter, and we'll come over to the Curves Workbench. I'm going to place something on here. Click on that surface. I've got the geom information on, so I can take that off for the moment. We're going to use that in a moment and use a sketch on that surface. Take that sketch on the surface. I'm just going to put something on here. Now this is right over here. We can actually move this over. Let's hide that extrude. Get rid of this. We don't need this one either. And this point, coincident to that point, and that's all set. We have to be wary of this number if we're starting to change the radius of our original extrude. So we're going to put something in here. So I'm going to put basically a square along with another connection point like so. So that connects to there. And we're going to take these 2 points, so this point and this point in here, and place a height of 60 and set this one to 30 and use some trimming. Click on top, trim out that, so that's trimmed. Now we just need to hit escape and remove this one and make sure this point is on this line. Point on line constraint. You need to check that this one is symmetrical to these 2 points. So take these 2 points first and make a symmetry across with that point. We can use some construction geometry in here. Matter of fact, we're going to have to, because we can't do it with point on point, because it's going to place it in the middle. And we'll use some construction geometry that places that across there. Make this sure that this is symmetrical. So these 2 points are symmetrical. So make that construction. Let's delete the problems with the redundant constraints. Click to select and hit delete. And make sure that point is connected to that line. Point on line constraint. And we'll just make those two equal. And I'm going to place a length in there so we can check the length. So this one is 50 millimeters. So we're checking that against our geometry and hit close. So we've got that now. We can, got a bit of a problem there with that map sketch. So let's have a look. These 2 points aren't connected. So connect those points up. Click to select and delete. There we go. So those are connected. We can constrain this down, best practice 2, because we don't really want these to move, but we'll leave that for the time being. So that's there. Go back to the extrude, look at the sketch. We haven't got anything locked down, so these can move. So if these actually moved, then it will affect that sketch on surface, and we have to transfer back this length of this arc back to that sketch. So I'm just going to sit that upon that line, so it's fully locked down. We're going to add the ears to this and check on the tangency and also the length, etc., and make sure it all fits nicely and check our symmetry. So to do that, I'm going to create another extension of this sketch. Now I want this to stay as it is, so I'm going to change this to save affecting this. I'm going to change this one to construction mode and then add the arcs that come down like so. And we've got this one which is really straight at the moment. That's because where's the point of that arc? Let's make those two equal. So equality, there we go. So we've got some equality across those. That's pulled our point in. So this point would have been way over here. So we move these points, and it's a good idea to take these 2 points and keep them in line. And we can affect those arcs. Place a line between those for the bottom. Let's keep those in line because it's got the horizontal constraint. And we can move these and change those. So we want these to test tangency. So we've got all these set. And we've got symmetry across here as well. So these are in line. And we can control that arc with these. Let's set this length to 30 mil. So that restricts us now with that end. So this line will be 30 millimeters from the top. You can see straight away we've got that tangency issue there, but we'll fix that with some tangency across there. But let's experiment with it to see how well this works. So we can get this nice and straight by pulling these out, changing these. So we'll play with that in a moment. Let's hit close and look at this extrude. So now we've got a second face on that extrude. These should still be, if I look at the geom information, that length is 28.774 along there. And this one is the same. And this one is 50. So this is the one we set. That one there is 50. Let's double check that. Yeah, 50 millimeters. So this is the one we're using as reference. Let's map something on here We didn't use a straight line or a B-spline because the sketch on surface is sketch on curve, and that's not supported by sketch on curve. You have to actually have a curve to actually sketch upon rather than those two. Otherwise it won't work. Well, will work, but you won't be able to go to scale. Again, I'm going to delete these because we don't need them, and hide the extrude, and bring this point back to here. Try that again. That one and that one. And just pull these away so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to sketch something upon here. So we're going to go from here, but I'm going to keep it a certain length so we can test the length. So let's click on that edge and make that length 20 mil. And we're looking at 60 millimeters away from the edge and a 30 mil width. So if I hit task and close, we see that's added. Now if I click on here, geom information tells me that's 20. This one is 50. We're saying it's 49.766. So there's been some modifications there. So let's have a look at that extrude and click on this. Radius is 50 and our length 157.080. So let's have a look at that map sketch. So this is wrong. So 080. So that should have pulled everything back in. 157080. So this now should be 50, which is correct, and this one is 2. So some modifications in there have caused that to move. So we're back on track now. So this is one thing you have to be careful of if we're modifying this. We have to go back and forth just to make sure that we're getting the right scaling in there, because the sketch from curved surface doesn't update that, but we can just easily modify that. So now we've got those. Let's do some extrusions. So let's look at our map sketch. My sketch on surface. The thickness, we're just going to go outwards by 5, and we'll test this tangency. And we'll do the other one as well. Fill faces is false, so set that to true, and the same for this one. Fill faces true. So the lengths aren't going to be correct because it's actually this length here. So that one, as you can see, if we look down length 55, obviously if we send this inwards, then it would. And there's that wedge taken out of there. So let's put some tangency across those. So come into the map sketch and let's look at that tangency. It's not the map sketch we want. We are on the original extruded sketch. So this sketch here. So just placing tangency should solve this as suggested. It's correct. We'll have to check these lengths again. So close. This one here is now 157.080, which is correct, hasn't changed. And this one is 30.638. So let's do this one first, which is wrong. That one there. Is that the right one I'm altering? Yes, it is. Makes it harder to see when you've got the extrusion there. There we go. So this one was 30.683. Double check that in a minute. 683. Close that. So that's the length of 21. So the underneath of that should be, I've done that wrong. So let's have a look at that sketch extrusion. So 30.638. So I've got that wrong. So let's come in there. Not a problem. So 6, 3, and 8. Let's close that. Now this should be this length here, if I can get it, that edge, length is 20. So we're back to where we was. We've got to check this one. 157080, 157080, so that's fine. And we should have 50 millimeters going across here. 50 mil. So that's fine. So we've got those. And the tangency, which was what we was looking for, is actually worked. So let's make those nice and straight now. Well, let's send these backwards. So we go minus 4.99 and the 5, because we can't go 5 because it'll error. And we'll come down to the other one, this one here. So I did minus 5 on here, we get an error down the bottom. So this has got to be minus 4.99. And we'll try to make these flat now. So we'll come into the original sketch and make these flat. So we're looking at changing these arcs. Where's the points for those arcs? There they are at the top there. So we can move these out. And in fact, let's add a radius to these. So the higher the radius, the further it should move out. Radius. Let's do something bonkers like 1000. That'll do. So put 1000 radius on there, and we've got a pretty straight line there. To close, we've got nice tangency across there. The length will probably be wrong. 19587, so we've got to go back to that extrude, and because we've affected this, we've got to look at the length, which is 30.005. We transfer that to the map sketch. I'm sure you can do this with a spreadsheet, so we won't have to keep on transferring this back and forth. It'll be an interesting thing to look into. So that should be 2 now, or 20, sorry, 20. 20. This one should be 50, 50.10. So as that moved. Length 157080. Yeah, that's fine. So that's fine. It's fractions out, but that's okay. So now we've got this shape. So we've checked tangency, we've checked our sizes. All we need to do is check our mirror. So we come in and we'll go to the part. We need to combine these both, control click and combine them both together with a union, and check the fusion and do the mirror, or mirroring across. Let's go from the top. Send that on page. Mirroring across X, Z, and OK. I've mirrored that across the wrong one. Let's try that again. Fusion, mirror, and it's mirroring across this way, so the YZ. That's it. That mirrors nicely. We've got nice tangency across there. We can take that fusion, and with the mirror fusion and the fusion, just bring those together with another fusion, and then if we want to, we can refine that to get rid of that face there. So we've just got a single face going across there. So that's going to work. It's got a single face underneath as well. So that's going to work. So we've proved the workflow works, and that we can use these sketches, this map sketch, and add the connections. So I'm just going to use a slot in here. So slot in there. We can add those connections in there, and those will be on either side. So we can start to build that brace using that workflow. So it's just to get an idea how the workflow is going to work. and with something simple, so we don't go down that road and find that we've got to backtrack on ourselves and waste that time in there. So that's going to work, and let's move on to the next stage. So just looking into ways of resolving the disconnect from this length in the map sketch between any modifications to the extrude, this one here, the actual sketch, and basically this radius length of this. So we bring back that extrude and have a look at that length. If that changes, then we have to basically transfer that to the sketch. There is a way. I've just done a bit of playing, and the way I found it out was going into the Python console and playing with basically the makeup of this. So one thing we can do in the Python console, we can get an idea of how this is all linked together. We won't have to do this code in here. We're going to make an expression. So I can send that to the Python console. So what I've done is just send that extrude, and it's put it into code in here, and we're interested in the extrude.shape. obj dot, and you'll see if I start typing shape, there's a shape there. So obj is already been signed up to the extrude, and the shape is extrude.shape. And then we get the element, which is shape.edge4. The element, that was the actual edge that was selected. So that's select this edge, which is, hover over that, that should be edge 3. Let's send that to the Python console. So right click, send to Python console, shape.edge 3. So we've got that one there. So ELT is that edge. ELT.length gives us length. So we should be able to use that in the formula. So let's have a look. This one here. So this formula here, double click it and use the expression. And we need to type in the extrude dot shape dot edge 3. There we go, so that edge has come up there. Dot length, and we get the 157.08. So okay, that, and we can give that a name. So I'm going to call this main arc length, and hit OK. So now we've got that as orange, so that's been referenced outside. It's been, sorry, calculated geometry there. So I hit close. That should mean that if we changed anything in this sketch, with this one, and we set the radius to something like 110, hit close. Now that length there is now 172. Let's have a look at this edge, 50, and look at the sketch within, map sketch, 172,788, which is the same as this edge, 172,788. So we've made the connection there, so we can actually go through and connect those up to save us from going back and forth and changing them. So that's going to be helpful quite a bit in the future. I never thought of actually doing that until now. So that makes life so much more easier for us when we come to sketching on those curved surfaces. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.